Okay, so welcome to all the viewers to this panel discussing today talent without border, that is redefining cross-border recruitment. Today we have with us Indu Khanna from Dr. Reddy's Laboratories, Meena Bopaiah from Amadeus, Urvashi Verma from Xperi Inc. And to lead the discussion, we have Mr. Manish Kotwani with us from Cosfi Intelligence. So, if the attendees have any queries, you can drop the messages in the chat box below, and towards the end of discussion, we will get them answered by the panel. So, welcome all, and over to you, Mr. Manish.
Thank you so much, Shreya. Am I audible to everyone?
Yes.
At least my co-panelists? Yeah. Thank you so much, Shreya, and thank you to Global Talent Exchange. I think it's a wonderful platform and a forum where you guys are bringing, candidates across the globe to businesses across the globe. So kudos to you all for what you all are doing. Uh, Namaste and a big hello to everybody around the world. I'm sure we have an audience joining us from different parts of the world, and we're very delighted to have you with us over here. My introduction: my name is Manish Kotwani. I head human resources for a company called Course 5 Intelligence. We're a global analytics and an AI-based product engineering company, headquartered in India, but catering to businesses across the globe. Uh, Talent without border, as Shreya just said, and what all of us have viewed. I think it's a phenomenon that has existed for centuries, but it is still a phenomenon that remains so relevant in today's day and age, and probably way more than ever before. I think one learning, if all of us have had from the pandemic, was the world is truly flat. And it only got more flatter because we could talent became boundaryless. We could be working from any part of the world. Business priorities and personal aspirations started redefining talent acquisition strategies in that moment. So that was one big learning. And at the same time, I would say today, as we discuss this topic of global mobility, I think the timing can't be better. If you look at the way India is positioned as a global economy, we've seen leaps and bounds of changes in our growth, in our progress, from being a number 11 economy to number 5 that we are today. Truly kudos. And also with that change, we see a huge thrust and investment being made by the government across different sectors, and in shaping demand, in bringing talent to India. I think the rise in quantum of jobs, I was viewing a few reports, is growing at a very rapid pace across different industries. So today's session, I think I'm truly privileged, and I'm looking forward to a lot of learning from my co-panelists. Uh, I think we today have leaders, HR leaders, and talent acquisition leaders from different industries. I can see travel and tech, in one end. I can see a pharma, global pharma organization on the other. I can see Xperi, which is a huge, technology company supporting companies in the media space. I heard so much from Urvashi the other day that I actually went on and did a little bit of research on Xperi, so I started learning back then itself. So, but thanks very much for joining me. I'm sure, if I look at it, the session is going to be very, very useful for talent acquisition professionals across the globe who are looking to learn from you about trends, about practices, about how you guys operate in your respective organizations. While if I look at, from business perspectives, I'm sure um, uh, business leaders who may have been on the session today would be looking to learn how they can fulfill their talent demands, and what industry leaders are doing to go about fulfilling talent acquisition needs. Uh, Maybe a reinforcement that you need to go beyond the borders now, to grow your business and truly make it global. And for every candidate and a job seeker, who's on this in this meeting today, I'm sure you can learn how you can leverage and benefit, from this so-called war from talent that exists around the globe today, and how, while you don't just benefit from that, how you can look to collaborate with your organizations, with your colleagues, in truly making for a successful career. Okay. With that, I'm pleased to welcome my co-panelists. Shreya did announced. So, but Meena, Urvashi, Indu, all very accomplished leaders in their respective spaces. I truly have the women power with me. Well, the bill in the parliament got passed yesterday, but I think I'm the minority here. But yes, with that, we'll get started. With our session today. So, Keith, I would love to learn from y'all. What y'all think is really driving this increase in global mobility of talent across the globe. Any inputs, Indu?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Manish. Hope I am audible.
Yes, you are.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. Pleasure to be here on this platform. So, Manish, to answer your question, just going back a little while when you were talking about the India growth story. So, if I have to look at this and frame my response to this question, I would say I want to look at it at two different aspects. So, one is the growing Indian diaspora, right? So, we are saying that we've just surpassed China as the world's most populous country, right? And the fact also that our migrants today are both numerous and absolutely successful across, right? Plus, we are the largest contributor of the diaspora. So, from a talent pool standpoint, if we look at India, as per the last numbers which I have, we are close to 32 million as the diaspora, which is the largest across, right? So, I think, and to a certain extent, if we look at it, India is one of the pioneers in recognizing the importance uh, of its overseas population. And as a country and as a government, I think there are a lot of institutional frameworks which have been put into place, which is definitely helping us as a country engage with this diaspora. So, and I think it goes without mentioning how some of our diaspora are today at very important roles in global organizations, right? And looking at this, coming to the second aspect on why I feel that this trend is changing and the demand of global talent is also increasing, and why talent is looking at India as an opportunity area is also, to a certain extent, what you called out. We are swiftly gearing towards a US 5 trillion economy by 2024. So that itself is a big one to put out there, right? And plus, we are talking about becoming a global powerhouse. Now, as everybody knows, I represent Dr. Reddy's. We are the pharmaceutical sector is where we come from, and which is slated to touch close to 120 billion USD by 2030. So keeping all this in mind, I think it's all about the opportunities which India as a country is offering as a market, not only in technology but also in healthcare domain. So technology, as we look at how some of our cities like Bangalore and Hyderabad, to name a few, are becoming the tech hubs, whether it is for any tech organization or for financial organizations, how we are becoming the tech hubs. Likewise, so I think recently, just in this quarter, Hyderabad saw some 7 new GCCs, that's the Global Capability Centers, which came up. And on the healthcare side, also, if I have to call out, there has been a rapid digitization. I think that's contributing a lot for talent to look at avenues outside. Today, talent is becoming uh, more ready to take opportunities outside their home country or countries where they have studied or done their education. And it also impacts a lot around the way consumer behavior is changing today. So this is all making the market look very attractive. And that's how I would say that not just technology, but even healthcare is contributing to this revolution, right? And the attention towards India is picking up. So I think if for any organization, if we have to look at today, keeping all these factors in mind, it's very important that organizations try and understand the significance which global mobility and talent will contribute to. And likewise for talent, it's the attraction power which India as a country is offering today. I think that's how I want to sum it up.
Absolutely true. And Meena, over to you. Any specific ways in which Amadeus as an organization, or in your experience, you've seen organizations benefiting from talent mobility?
Yeah, to add to what Indu was saying, right, in terms of the tech ecosystem that we have, um, if you look at probably around 2016, the number of startups that we had probably was less than 1,000 recognized startups by the government. But if you look at last year's data, it's probably around 80,000 plus, right? So this is the ecosystem. She talked about digitalization, which sort of increases the opportunities that are available in India, and the ecosystem to learn and learn through experience, hands-on experience. So I think that is what the talent is looking at from a global point of view. And one of the examples that I can share is, in the recent past, we are having a lot of requests coming in, specifically from students who are studying in external universities, wanting to do a lot of internships in India. They're looking at different technology companies, different domains that they can learn from. And this is something that we are seeing a lot of requests coming in, especially for internship, from college students as well as from outside. They've completed their studies, but they still want to experience it without actually taking up employment, but being associated with organizations like us. So huge opportunity to learn and grow in India is what I would say.
No, absolutely. Thanks, Meena. And I'm sure all of us do agree that organizations across the globe are at different stages of its evolution. The the talent that exists in country X versus country Y would definitely be very different because of the way innovation runs in those countries, practices run, what they deliver to the consumer base in those countries as well as outside of it. So as do you all really see that this talent, there is definitely a skill gap that exists, between different countries, and as we look to get talent from different countries outside of India, how do you all really see the skill gap being bridged in this case? Urvashi, would you like to take that one?
Yeah, in this case, we see that there are a lot of domains or technologies and new things coming up in different places across the world, and many a time we see that those things are not available in India or maybe not available in any other country. There, this mobility of cross-border recruitment definitely works wonderful, where we have flexibility to hire people with experience in same kind of domain or technology, and have them work for different countries, and enhancing those recruitment practices by providing flexibility, creating better employment brand and things like that helps us bring the talent. Plus, in that case, we are seeing that the organization are adopting a lot of new cultural values as well. So people coming from different countries doesn't see a lot of differences when they move to different country. Suppose somebody is returning back to India, they don't find a lot of differences in terms of culture what they were facing. The kind of the way organization is working is that is being neutralized across the globe, and those things helps them to reskill, upskill, and retrain themselves.
Sure. So one obvious question that comes to my mind is, as this talent comes back to India, they've been at a different stage of maturity. Do you really see this helping in upskilling the Indian workforce? Meena, since you've led learning and development as well, do you have any trends to share on that front?
Yeah, most definitely. But before that, 2 points, right? Why do we see a lot of people going outside of India? It goes back to our education system, at least in my point of view. The hands on experience, the practical experience is sort of missing in our education system, right? Even if you go for campus interviews, for example, the thought process is there, but they've not really experienced in terms of projects that they have done. So there is already a gap there. So this is something that people look at in terms of practical experience, and that exposure they get when they probably work for companies outside of India. The second aspect that you see, I'm talking from the tech space mostly because that is where my experience is. If you look at any GCC or any tech company, a multinational company, the the exposure to customers or the proximity to customers is not necessarily there for R&D sites like us, right? So we don't have first hand information coming from the customer. We are not hearing the customer. We're probably not in the workshops with the customer. uh, so the information is relayed back, so we miss the point of getting to hear the feedback from the customer, which means we're developing products probably not keeping the customer in mind, because we aren't hearing what the customer really needs, right? So getting a workforce which has that proximity to the customer, which has that practical exposure and that experience there, into India, into our sites, and having them spend maybe 2 to 3 years with our people, expose our employees here to this kind, to the experience, and learn from their experience. So when we set up our center in India, the first few years we consciously focused on getting a lot of expats who have this experience. And the third element is the domain, right? I think Urvashi talked about it. The domain aspect was missing, because we do not have too many travel tech companies in India, which means we don't have the talent who comes with the domain knowledge, right? So these three aspects, when you we got expats, spend around 2 to 3 years in India, share that knowledge with the group, and this is another way of learning. And that was the initial days of the setup. And of course, then 12 years in India, we've gained that knowledge, we've gained that expertise. Now it is also cross functional. Now we're also looking at how we can share the knowledge there, by probably sending people for exchange programs, or exchange their roles for a short term period, and learn from each other from a cultural aspect as well.
Brilliant. So this cross pollination of resources definitely helping both ways, and not just in upskilling talent in India. That's great. Uh, let's talk a little about strategies at play to enable cross-border talent acquisition. I've led talent acquisition for the longest period of time in my career, and I do understand that what it takes to attract talent in India would be very different, from the way you attract talent in North America, or in Europe, or in Middle East, or the Far East. I've learned a lot in that process. Uh, Indu, would you like to take this one up and talk a little about different strategies at play in how organizations can attract talent from global locations
Sure.
while they hire in?
Thanks. Yeah. Thanks for that question, Manish. So I think if we have to put it up together, what's most important is, I think, looking at it from a people standpoint. So we all know that people form the epicenter of every organization. And I think that's how it's very important that it's it becomes important that organizations are not just investing in attracting this talent, but I think the recruitment strategies should also somewhere factor how is it that the organization is attracting, nurturing, as well as retaining this top talent, because it just can't stop by getting them in, right? And so, to begin with, I would say the first most important aspect to look at is identify your right global talent hotspots. I think that's very important because, like we've seen, talent is available. But unless an organization is having the clarity on what are the skills for which I know that I have to go outside and hire from the global talent pools, it's very important. But not just for today, but futuristic also. So we are talking about innovation and the right mindset here. So whether it's the right courses or the right universities which we want to get to. Now, when we talk about the talent, while attraction is important, I think keeping the talent at the center becomes prime importance. Because if you look at it, talent today is not just talking about getting the right benefits, because we have crossed that. The benefits are beyond compensation. So and also these unprecedented changes to the workspace and the whole market scenario and the way we are evolving in our workspaces, I think it is more crucial for us to also look at revamping some of the employee policies. And I think the approach to have that competitiveness alive is keeping the talent first approach. Because only then I think organizations will be able to bring in more agility, will be able to nurture talent, which is fostering innovation and growth. And I think this is what strong organizations would look for, because This is something which will be beneficial not for the organization but also the employee. And I think all of this comes with as the paradigm is shifting, right? So if I talk about the worker and the workplace paradigm, what we were pre-COVID to what we've come to now, I think it's also necessary for organizations, and taking some cues which our colleague just mentioned, how it is important that we start reimagining the nature of our jobs and skills, which is very important today. You can't be thinking of what it was earlier. So the futuristic approach has to come. And all of this woven together under the culture umbrella. Because I think every talent which is looking at an organization and wanting to make a particular organization as the choice of their next employment, it's very important that the organization carries strong ethos and values. And all of this will be woven together. So it's like the culture becomes the beautiful thread which will hold all the beads together. So I think all of these aspects put together, woven under the culture umbrella, is what can help put our talent acquisition strategies in the right place.
Excellent. Uh, Great. I think I love the idea of ensuring that you firstly are aware of the global hotspots. Where do you attract your talent from? Exposing the right culture and identifying the right talent and being futuristic in your view. Urvashi, any differential view or any add-on view here?
Yeah, so in my perspective, since this pandemic has happened, the talent market has been, reversed. Now it is more candidate-driven market instead of corporate-driven market. So we have to make sure that we are before putting any effort towards actual hiring process. We need to make sure that our employer brand is set up properly. Most of the B2B companies doesn't have very strong employer brand, and there is, they are missing the right talent though they want to hire them. Apart from this, we have to make sure that candidates experience is, is on top priority all the time. We should invest on different kind of ATS, different kind of apps, mobile friendly things, make our process very fast and very smooth. Plus transparency is important, so whatever is happening throughout the process, that transparency is very important to make sure that candidate is considering your brand as their next employer or something. Plus internally we can, curate policies like employer referral policy as a global policy instead of country driven policies, so that people will be comfortable, sharing referrals for different countries and moving talent here and there. Because mostly in organization, one third of the hire are coming from employee referrals, and that is one of the strongest source of getting the right talent. We can also, to cut down any of the cultural barriers, we can collaborate with RPOs, global RPOs, who can provide us recruiters or, direct face of the organization in this, who understand the culture of those countries better and can project your brand, can project the job description accordingly. Plus, the raise in the DEI and awareness about diversity, equity, and inclusion is going to help corporate define their culture very well on social media, which attracts the talent a lot. And once they are, very convinced or comfortable or confident on your culture, they will be happy to go through the process. Plus, there should be standardized process everywhere because most of the companies are global now. And if a talent is talking to somebody from India or talking to somebody from UK or US, there should be, same kind of messages coming out instead of very country driven messages. So these things are there which organization should adopt. Plus there should be, different kind of channels to attract the top talent. How we will reach out to them, different countries have different, different things popular to for hiring purposes. So we should use social media for a lot of branding, promotions, and, showcasing the jobs. Plus career website, plus different job portals, agencies, vendors, events, career fair like this one, Billion Dreams, which is giving us, opportunity to interact with people from different countries. And this is an opportunity for candidates also to understand what corporates are looking forward from them, how they will be able to support them in hiring or coming back to India, or, getting a job in different countries. So different purposes are getting solved at the one platform, which is great.
Brilliant. Thanks, Urvashi. And I guess goes without saying, increasingly we are seeing, how HR professionals and organizations are trying to drive uniformity in culture across the organization, irrespective of the
Yeah.
location. Having said that, when you still go about hiring, whether it could be an Indian getting back to the home country, or it could be an expat coming to India, or vice versa, I'm sure there are still a lot of cultural barriers that organizations or witness, or do you all often face any cultural barriers, or at times even regulatory barriers, right? And anything you would like to add upon on that front,
So basically,
Meena or Urvashi?
I would like to share one example that when I was hiring for people in Poland, there is not so much of cultural barriers because corporate is becoming more global. People understand the culture, people understand the way the organization are working. But when you are talking to somebody from a country who is very comfortable in their own language, like Poland or Taiwan, or those kind of country which works in their local languages, then sometimes it becomes difficult to interact. And there are tools, emails or ATS works wonders, where we have written communication which is going to the candidate, which is visible internally to all your stakeholders, that what kind of communication is happening, how the candidate is seeking us as an employer, and what all opportunities we are providing. So having all those tools and standardizing the process is going to, I think, help us reduce the barrier a lot. Plus having a lot of open communication once the person is in, make them comfortable with the team, let the team know that there is a person going to join us from different country, or an expat is going to join us, somebody is returning to their own country after so many years, so there could be chances that they have different kind of behaviors to live. So open communication is going to help. Wherever it is necessary, corporate should be open to provide trainings, language trainings or behavioral trainings wherever you see the gap is, and a lot of team building activities, I would say, that is help, that will help them to bond together.
Brilliant. So communication is the key, and tech integrations or platforms that enable articulation of the same is going to be key to overcoming cultural barriers. Meena, any views there?
Yeah, Manish, we are in 190 countries, so you can imagine the number of cultures that some of our folks have to deal with. So let me give you an example of open communication that Urvashi talked about, and some of the teams that tried here. There was a team which I think was co-located in 5 different countries, and obviously they were having a lot of conflicts because of the different communication styles as well as cultures, right? Some are hierarchical in nature, some are more concession driven. So you do have these various aspects in the various cultures. So obviously there were a lot of conflicts. So what the team did is have a neutral facilitator, and then got the teams together, and it is not a one off. They had to do a couple of sessions where they came together and started having open conversations around their cultures, as well as some of the conflicts that arose as part of their day to day communication. They brought up that and said, okay, in my culture, for example, this is how we deal with it, right? And this is how I expect maybe from you. Of course, the first few sessions, there were conflicts and of interest between them when they were having these conversations, because again, uh, you need to create a space where they can have open conversations, and here a facilitator who's neutral, who doesn't take either side, or agree to either side, is very important. So this, after couple of sessions, I think the understanding got better. People started understanding. They also worked on ways of working together. For example, in case somebody does not agree with another person, they came up with a way that they could communicate with each other, a common way that they could communicate with each other. So these are a couple of things that can be tried, but like Urvashi said, it has to be open conversation, and I think that's what will take people to understand each other's culture.
Oh, true. And I'm sure this would have also helped retain talent, or you're already talking about nurturing talent, how you all could drive communication, how you all could enable forums and platforms where co-workers can work together. We offer them a great experiential journey despite being in a different country. But any best practices you'll have to share, or you would like to share, about what really worked well for you all in nurturing talent, in retaining talent, making them more productive, more committed, despite being in a different location. Maybe getting a perspective from the pharma industry. Indu, what is your take here?
Yeah. Um, so, on the lines of what Meena is just calling out, where she mentioned about this group who's working in diverse environments, right? I think what's important is how, as an organization, are we trying to build the strength of diversity? Because if you look at it, I think these diverse environments, the opportunity which exists today is it's not just restricting us to our country, right? So this diversity of environment is giving us a lot of option for innovation. We are talking about minimizing risk, and you're talking a lot about leading to better decisions in an organization. So I think if an organization is thinking about that diverse perspective and the balance is called out, it definitely helps put things into place. Because I was just reading some reports, and one of the aspects which even a talent looks at. So I was referring to some survey which was conducted by Glassdoor, and that clearly says that 76% of the job seekers, they look for a diverse workforce when considering their job offers. So I think as an organization, for us, it becomes very important that we start building this into our system. And it starts right at the first interface which a candidate has with an organization. So I think few of these examples can really help bake the whole aspect into the recruitment process, and then take it on from there into how you are nurturing them, how you are treating them, and how is it that they are getting the right development opportunities, so that helps move the entire life cycle of an employee.
Excellent. So yeah, touching upon the entire life cycle is key out here. It's not just about attracting, but the experiential onboarding, retention, nurturing, which eventually leads to the outcome that we see. Right. No, brilliant. Meena, any inputs on how do you think platforms like the Billion Dreams or GTX are helping, enabling, and these initiatives can help us tap onto global talent.
Um, to talk about Indu, yeah, diversity is an important factor. In terms of retention, I think one of the main factors, and it's in our organization, but I'm sure it's true in a lot of other organizations. People want to find meaning in their work, right? What they do has to have meaning, and if you see, a lot of top reasons for attrition is the role, the kind of role that people get, and um, what role they will play in an organization. Does it have meaning? The work I'm doing, does it have a purpose, right? So this is where I think when it comes to a global workforce and a global talent pool and global organizations, I think these opportunities are available. If not in one site, it would probably be available in other sites, right? So I think Billion Dreams has an ecosystem which is available. So it will be good for organizations to probably tap into initiatives like y'all to identify the talent coming, in terms of what kind of talent we are getting from there, and look at people who really want meaning in their roles, and divert them towards that, and help in the recruitment.
Excellent. So purpose and role clarity. Would any of you like to touch upon any best practices in carving out benefit strategies for migrating talent? I'm sure a lot of talent acquisition professionals are often face difficulty in understanding cost of living differences, or how do you define and carve out better app benefits. Any inputs there for recruiters out there?
Yeah, maybe I can take that, Manish. I think what's becoming very important is looking at the whole global mobility aspect. So, while you look at total rewards as one composition, you talk about benefits, you talk about compensation. But when it comes to global mobility, I think it's very important that we start realizing what crucial role does this category or this skill of talent plays. Because there have been organizations where mobility teams are quite small and few. But I think if you talk about from a future trend also, global mobility is going to become a key aspect, because we are talking about talent moving across different continents. So things like you brought up, so if today I am sitting here and I want to hire somebody in North America, I think it's very important for one to understand what works well for that hire, whether I'm hiring that person there right there, or I'm trying to bring that person in India. So, according to me, global mobility is an area of focus which is going to become very imperative going forward. And at the same time, we cannot take out the human element of the family support. So, even if we talk about relocation cases within the country, I think what we all look at is, while the individual is ready, is he or she getting the right family support to make that move? So for organizations to go beyond that one employee whom they plan to hire, I think it's important to build the ecosystem around the family members, because I think they are the ones who will make that call whether it's worth moving or whether it's not worth moving. So I think it's the whole ecosystem. So like I said, you just can't look at one aspect. It has to have that entire 360-degree view, keeping the emotional aspect also in mind, because it's going to be a big shift for anyone. While we will organizations need to do their best to make that shift and move as comfortable as possible, and ensure that we are looking at the entire ecosystem at one stretch.
Great. I think you bring a great point. I think touching upon the emotional aspect, besides clarity, communication, nurturing, and everything, I think that's important. The family is comfortable, you're comfortable, right? So thanks very much, Indu. Going over to you, Urvashi, in terms of any future trends that you'd like to talk about, for organizations, recruiters, job seekers, attending this forum today. Uh, how cross-border recruitment and talent mobility in years ahead could really go a long way in shaping businesses so much better. What could be, should this be a priority for companies? How can they really make this as a part of their agenda?
Yeah, definitely. The future is changing and everything is changing, and I must say everything is changing very very fast. So now you see that AI is playing a lot of role everywhere, and recruitment industry is also have a lot of impact of AI, which is helping us communicate with people in different countries at the right time with the right information, in spite of having a lot of hurdles of time management or time zones differences. So we are removing those barriers with the help of technology. Plus this hybrid work mode, which is the new norm of working, is going to help all the candidates and all the recruiters to make a right environment for people, for any movement or adopting the country, adopting the new way of working, adopting the new organization. So this is going to help. Those are very common new trends which is coming up. Plus, we see that recruiters are now considered as business leaders, which was not the case earlier. All the decisions were made by technology leaders or C level leaders, but now there is a lot of opportunity and a lot of involvement of recruiting leaders in strategizing the hiring, what kind of technology should be hired in which country. A lot of inputs and data driven decision is being made from the recruiting leaders to make sure that business is running well and we are able to deliver the right talent at the right time to perform the task. So and also, as Indu said, that diversity, equity and inclusion is something which has to be there in all the organization, because candidates are not only looking for compensation or work, but they are looking for many more other things, which is going to impact their life, their family, plus the organization as well. So those are the few trends I see coming up.
Great, thanks. Meena, any final inputs on this, on future trends?
Um, so I think more and more we're moving towards a global talent acquisition model, right? Because we have to tap into the global talent pool. The talent acquisition folks itself having experience of managing recruitment cross border, not necessarily recruiters from India managing only for India. So I think that is something that I am seeing, which is happening. I'm not saying everyone is successful. Each market has its own, issues, and understanding that is not going to be easy. Educating the talent acquisition folks to understand the legal complications, the cultures is not going to be easy, but that is something definitely I'm seeing that a lot of organizations are going towards in terms of adoption, right? The other thing I see is maybe more skill based hiring, moving away from the traditional college education or universities that people come from, or certain universities that people come from. And it is probably going more towards whether the person has the skill, the experience, the cultural background in terms of global exposure is what I'm talking about. So I think these are two things that I see from my point of view, which is the future.
Brilliant. No, I think some key takeaways from this segment was, leveraging tech and AI. That's really, changing the way TA leaders and TA functions are operating. And I so agree, how TA leaders and staff are increasingly becoming business focused, and at the same time, uh, they are increasing knowledge and the need for increasing knowledge around labor laws, compliances, cross-border linked processes, whether it's filing for work permits or having the technical understanding, that's going to be key, crucial, and a trend that all recruiters need to work on and continue to work on. uh, any final inputs from you, Indu,
Yeah.
on trends?
Yeah, so I was referring to a very interesting survey by Ernst and Young, and I thought I'll just call that out. So their mobility reimagined survey, and I think it's available on the open platform if people can have a look. So what's a very positive sign for us as talent acquisition professionals and as organizations to look at is 93% of the employees are saying that working internationally would be life-changing experience for them. So which is a very positive for us to look at. And the second is 88% of employers believe that mobility can help address the global talent shortages. Right? So the second point is quite interesting because employers are also thinking in that direction, and it's a good number, 88% of them. But if you look at the third point, which they've called out, it says only 47% of businesses currently have a consistent mobility policy that addresses the increased demands for flexibility and agile working. So you see the catch there, right? So I think it's a long road ahead for us. While thoughts have started happening, there is thinking, there is action, and I know AI is there to help us. But I would still say sooner than later, organizations need to start pushing this particular aspect and make it a real global organization. It's not just about having offices in different countries, but it's also about how you are making that whole engine run effectively and drive innovation and growth for you. So that's where I wanted to share this. It was a very interesting survey aspect.
No, absolutely. I think building that ecosystem and the infrastructure to support is equally crucial. So, and that's something which our talent acquisition colleagues can have as a takeaway. But thanks very much, for all your insights. I think one thing for sure, I think the demand for talent is here to stay. It's for organizations to go out, tap, collaborate, and onboard, talent irrespective of geographies they exist in. There are various tools, technologies, and most importantly, human skills at play to make this entire process a success. I think, in the absence of which, it's going to be like a disjointed process, right? So, my strong recommendation here would be that, well, world's a playground for talent acquisition professionals. Please go make the most of it. And at the same time, even candidates are being increasingly agile, adaptable, and they're looking forward, like you said, from the EY report. all of us do believe, right? Of course, if we work across different countries, the learning that it brings to us is immense. So, but yes, at the same time, building the right infrastructure, communication strategies, policies is equally crucial. Being aware of labor laws, norms, compliances, regulatory frameworks is going to go a long way in enabling success of global talent mobility. With that, I really thank all of you, for being here and sharing your experiences, giving different industry perspectives, giving your personal perspectives. Having it from talent acquisition to learning and development leaders. So I think some great takeaways for everybody. We will now leave the forum open for any Q&As. Shreya, Sharnita, in case you all would like to direct any questions to any of the panelists. So, what do you think is most important right now for standout employer brand? Well, is that a question? Is that one of the questions?
Yeah, I think this is something which I also can see on the chat.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay, so I'll share my views on this. That
sure.
what do you think is the most important right now for a standout employer brand? The world is moving towards innovation, and for me, innovation is not bringing up new solutions or bringing up new technologies, but it is a new way of living. And how we will achieve a new way of living for most of the population is by having diversity. When we have a team of diverse people, where we see gender diversity, age diversity, people from people having disabilities or people from tier 2 cities, then the solution what we make to any of the problem is going to serve large and large population. That solution is not only limited with one set of cohorts, but it is bringing diverse problem. The problem is itself is getting diversified by different users, and the solution is also coming up like that. So I think that that solution is going to cater the larger population for a longer duration, and that is the kind of innovation we are looking forward in today's world. So I think presently the most important thing what each employer needs to focus on is on diversity, equity and inclusion, so that we will be able to provide better innovations and better products for the way we are living, or the improved way of the way we are living.
Thank you. Thank you, Urvashi. There is another question that's come in which says, what is your vision? And I guess this is directed to Meena. What is your vision about product management technical roles in future? Is there going to be movement around? Well, Meena.
From my point of view, it goes back to a point that I was making in terms of proximity to the customer, right? To have product management roles, it's important to have proximity to the customer. Without that, you don't have access to the customer, right? So for us at Amadeus India, of course, one of our visions and one of our strategies is to try and get a lot more ownership into the India site, which means a lot of decision making, and we own the products here. And one of the key factors to be able to do that is, of course, having product managers out of the site here. So for the past couple of years, we have we have a strategy of hiring a lot of product managers as well as developing product managers, and we have some specific programs to develop product managers as well from the India side. This helps us to position ourselves as a site which has the ability to take on more ownership, and also because we are placed in Bangalore and India, close proximity to the customers in the APAC region. And from if you look at the data point of view, in terms of where is the growth from a travel point of view, it is the APAC region. So this allows us to work closely with our commercial colleagues in the APAC region, to to support all the customers in the APAC regions directly, rather than customers reaching out to probably sites in Europe. So I do believe if the vision of the site or vision of the organization is to, get a lot of ownership, getting a lot more product managers and having a strategy around that is important.
Great. Thanks. So proximity to the customers and ownership mindset is key out here. There's another question that's coming. What are some factors to consider when evaluating offers that involve relocation?
Um, okay. Shall I take it, or Indu, you wants to?
Go ahead, go ahead,
Okay.
go ahead,
So,
please.
so I was just thinking about what you just said about family relocation and things like that. So yes, that is the most important aspects we all as recruiting leader consider when anybody is relocating for any of the location, cross countries or within the countries. So I think organizations are very flexible nowadays to support their employees. Many times the relocation has a constraint because of the school admissions or getting the right place to live. So organizations are coming up with policies which will help employees to relocate at the right time or support them in finding the right school, right place to live, have a flexibility or a POC for initial few days to guide them how to settle down. In cross country relocation, there are a lot of paperwork and things like that is included in, especially with expat hiring. There are, consultants coming up to support organizations and expats to make the process very smooth and align with whatever the need is for all that to happen. So things like that is happening, and we do consider all this so that employee can focus on the work and being in the right mindset to be productive instead of getting hassle of all these relocation and settlement of family things. We provide all the support with consultant or the POCs directly from the organization to help them relocating from anywhere.
Yeah. I would just like to add to what Urvashi said. So I can share my example. So while I'm not an international relocation, I'm in within country relocation, but I must say that at Dr. Reddy's, what we've done is a lot of importance is given to onboarding. It's all part of onboarding, right? So if I talk about my example, it's again the family which played the most important role. But I think my family was so touched that when the moment the offer went out, there was an opportunity given for an individual to travel with family to come and explore the city. With kids, I think schools become the most crucial, because the idea is, okay, will my child get the right education from which country or city I'm moving to? So there is an opportunity which we give to our colleagues to come and explore the city, to explore the country, to understand what is it that we are offering, and ensure that they are comfortable at every step. So that's why, as an organization, we have a whole COE which looks after the entire onboarding. So which means there is focus and attention given to that aspect. So that's crucial. As I said, if your family is yes into it, then nothing can stop. So just ensure that you're doing that homework well.
Absolutely. No, great. So I think, yeah, ironing out the relocation-led challenges in a defined, process-driven approach and adding a little bit of a personal touch. I think sum it up all together, and I think you have a successful recipe out here. We do have a couple of more questions, though this has been covered in our discussion, where our audience would like to understand the cultural differences that exist in different countries, and how do you kind of what kind of initiatives do you have in place to overcome those as an employer and try to integrate and enable cultural integration, help in ease of settlement of individuals who are moving across to different countries and in those offices, especially for expats? I guess, Urushi, you did speak about getting in consultants as well to support, but any top two or three best practices, something very unique and different you all have done and you all would like to talk about?
I think maybe I can add a point. A lot of expats, before they come into India, specifically if they're not Indian nationals or have never stayed in India, the host country where they're coming from pays a lot of attention in getting them to understand. So there's a lot of training that they are given, a lot of material that they're given for them to understand the Indian ecosystem, how to live in India, some tools and tips, but also in from a work environment point of view, how they can integrate themselves into the organization, as well as from the receiving country. Of course, we spend a lot of time. I think Urvashi already talked about it. There is a lot of support given to expats or people coming into the country in terms of them settling down and understanding the cultural nuances of the country. So there's a whole integration process or integration docket as such provided.
Thanks very much. Uh, while we are significantly above time, over time, maybe we can just take one more question. We have two here and a few more coming in, looks like. But just one second. I'll just read this and articulate. For senior leaders, Naukri LinkedIn does not work well enough. What would you say is a suitable program for people coming to India? They may or may not have a strong network after spending many years abroad.
I'll
So how
try
can
and
they how
attempt
can
this.
they look for a job? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So while this person who's asked the question has ruled out Naukri, LinkedIn, even networking, so I would say it actually all boils down to what your interest area is. It starts with that. So, if as an individual, even at senior leadership levels, I am sure the kind of skill set and caliber they would have gained and the experiences they would have gained, they do still carry some network, right? And identifying the right opportunities where you're able to show the skill sets. So a platform like A Billion Dreams is a great opportunity where you get all the organizations under one umbrella. I think if you look at it differently, while somebody is ruling out Naukri and LinkedIn, I think LinkedIn does provide a lot of opportunities for networking and the online side also. It's not necessary that you go and interact in person, but trying to make one's presence felt in different forums. There are different opportunities to come and interact and to showcase your talent, whether it is about presenting a paper, whether it is putting up a white paper, or when we talk about Dr. Reddy's, we hire a lot of PhDs from across the globe. So we are talking about what kind of research have they done? Do they carry any patents? I think all these things do add up to the value of what the individual has done over these years. And that definitely will start showing up. So I know the roles might be few, not many, but reaching out to those right organizations, if that is very clear, that if this is the skill set I bring and I know that these are those 10 organizations in the market where I see myself fitting in, it starts from there. And I think LinkedIn gives a platform where nobody would stop to interact with. I mean, as a TA lead, I think I get so many requests daily on LinkedIn where people come reach out for career counseling or reach out for opportunities. So it's all about engagement. I just hope that this individual finds the right guides and mentors through LinkedIn, because it's an immense professional network which helps us as TA leaders definitely, and it helps the other side also. So I would still say finding those right organizations, it begins with that.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. We've had a lovely conversation. I sincerely thank Urvashi, Indu, and Meena for your time today. Uh, I'm sure these your inputs will go a long way in advising, guiding our global talent workforce to explore different ways and means of finding a suitable job in India. Let me tell you, the timing couldn't have been better. I did see some questions which we couldn't take right now. Talking about what are the skill gaps that exist. Trust me, there are enough and more. And irrespective of we having so much talent, we still need skilled talent, committed talent, and there's always way, for way and room for sincere job seekers to make way, into organizations in India. We are more than welcome. We'd like to welcome each one of you to consider opportunities. In addition, you all could look up careers pages of companies. You all could look at Glassdoor pages of companies. Besides LinkedIn, where on their careers page they have put up a lot of jobs. There are enough and more. And even if then you are unable to find, GTX is the platform. You all can reach out to. I'm sure they will get you all connected to a series of employers in India.
Yeah.
So with that, I'd like to close this session. A heartfelt thanks to all of you, to GTX for arranging this. I hope our audience had some good takeaways. And if you all still need to connect with us, we're on LinkedIn. Reach out to us, send in your questions. We'll be happy to mentor, connect, network, and enable you in your job seeking
Yeah.
process.
Thank you, Manish. Thank you so much, and my fellow colleagues. I just want to say one thing that I think hope through this platform and otherwise also everyone can find the right meaningful career for themselves.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And thank you, Manish, for being such a wonderful host. And thank you to my co panelists, and wish everyone on this call all the best.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Manish. Thank you,
Urvashi.
Meena and
Thank
Indu. It was a great
Thank you.
conversation. I hope audience also enjoyed and got some inputs from us. I'm always available on
for sure.
LinkedIn, so feel free to reach out to me for any further queries if anybody has.
Great.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you.
Have a lovely day ahead.
Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much.
Bye bye.